Goten and Trunks are two of the greatest prodigies in Dragon Ball. They're currently the youngest Super Saiyans in history, and while fused are also the youngest to achieve both Super Saiyan 2 and 3. Now, despite their great exploits in the Buu saga, they've been sidelined for most of Super, and it's only very recently that they've started to regain some form of relevance. Now, I'm sure many of you have never given it much thought as to how strong these two are, and just chalk it up to them being the weaker Saiyans and not relevant without fusion. And I've seen some people even think that Goten and Trunks are below Namek Frieza levels of power, and this could not be further from the truth. It's due to how heavily underrated these two are that I decided to make this video, going over how strong they actually are, both during the introduction in the Buu saga, and where they currently should be as of the end of the Super Hero arc. Okay, before we start I should clarify, this is going to be a video about Goten and Trunks and their inverse power level. I'm not going to be busting out calcs and stuff to try and get them on a certain level cross-verse, like where they scale, like in terms of Marvel and things like that. It's just a video exploring where they stand inverse, and how they stack up to the rest of the Dragon Ball. I just thought that had to be stated, especially because later on in the DBS manga, when I get to that section, I'm gonna have to bring up the Dragon Ball Super as two very different continuities and scaling chains, and I don't want anyone thinking I'm trying to put Goten and Trunks on a level they're not, because in one continuity they may be universal, in another they may be not that. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into it. Upon the introduction, we get to see that Goten and Trunks already have power well beyond the years. For Goten, we see that his throwing speed is enough to scare Super Saiyan Gohan, and although Gohan does chalk this up to his rust, this is still impressive. Goten then goes Super Saiyan and spars with Gohan, and with every exchange of theirs we see Gohan is sweating, likely indicating that Goten's strength is surprising him and making him exert more power than expected. We also get a statement from Gohan that if he doesn't watch himself, then Goten and Trunks, who is stronger than Goten, would both surpass him, implying relativity already. The reason I take a statement from Gohan to imply relativity in terms of strength and not just be a general statement of potential is because in Daizenshuu 2 it stated Goten's power is in no way inferior to Gohan. For those of you that may not know, the Daizenshuu is like a guidebook for Dragon Ball that gives us supplementary info on the series and the characters, and there are 7 Daizenshuu in total. Just saying this so that whenever I reference the Daizenshuu you know what I'm talking about. Now, it is important to clarify that Daizenshuu is explicitly referring to combat power and not something like potential, as the kanji used is used to refer to battle power explicitly. Now, the only reason I don't automatically take this to mean Goten equals Gohan at full power is because the Daizenshuu is explicitly referring to when they first started training, and this means that at best Goten is only equal to a Super Saiyan Gohan and not Super Saiyan 2. And that's at best, since Gohan is still very rusty at this point. But either way, the statement is enough to at least get Goten and Trunks at full power relative to Super Saiyan Gohan at the start of the Buu saga. Now, on Trunks' side, we see that he's able to move around in base at 150 times normal gravity, and it's implied that this is after him and Vegeta have already been training at enhanced gravity, and it's only now at 150 times that Vegeta thinks Trunks should start to leave the room. But Trunks is still able to move around, albeit while struggling, until he gets fed up with struggling and transforms, shocking Vegeta. Trunks goes on to treat the gravity room like a playground, and this is impressive since this is what Vegeta deems as suitable training conditions even as a Super Saiyan, and Trunks can't even feel it as a Super Saiyan. He literally started doing flips. Now, when Vegeta tells Trunks to try and hit him, we see a similar interaction as Gohan and Goten's play out. After Trunks' first punch, the smug face on Vegeta's face disappears and he starts sweating while trying to dodge Trunks' blows, and Trunks even lands a hit which prompts Vegeta to instinctively retaliate and hit him back. And Vegeta even hits him too hard because of how much Trunks pressured him. Trunks' insane level of power is why Vegeta asks who's stronger between Trunks and Goten. He doesn't ask because of some petty self-imposed competition where his son has to be stronger. He asks because he thinks Trunks' power is an anomaly, and hearing Goten is almost as strong shocks Vegeta. It's less about who's stronger and more about the boys being the strong in general. This relativity Goten and Trunks are exhibiting is in line with the statement from Daizenshuu 5, which states that their Super Saiyan power rivals that of the adults. And this is even further exemplified with Mighty Mask vs Android 18. During this fight, Goten and Trunks have every disadvantage placed on them and are still holding their own. But the best show of their power is when Trunks fires a Ki Blast, and his reasoning is that even if he hits her, she won't die because she's Android 18. But despite this, Goten still tells him to hold back, so he does, and Trunks, while firing for holding back Ki Blast, forces 18 to dodge. She even seems to imply she barely dodged it since she comments on its speed, and she was literally dripping sweat off this, and keep in mind this was them holding back. At this point, it should be clear that Goten and Trunks can easily hang with the adults, especially since Piccolo seems to admit inferiority to Goten and Trunks, as he calls him Earth's last hope, and this is before he finds out about fusion, mind you. So Piccolo already believes that Goten and Trunks have a higher chance of beating Buu than him, which is insane since Piccolo was an Android 17 level fighter who got 1 year of training in the time chamber and then 7 extra years of training. And he still thinks the boys are above him even without fusion, which places the boys directly above the androids from the Cell Saga already. They then train for a week in the time chamber, and Piccolo says Gotenks even in base powered up hugely in this time. Naturally, for Gotens to have had this high level of increase according to Piccolo, it means Goten and Trunks would have had huge power jumps individually. Now that's pretty much all we get from them in the Buu saga, but this is a real impressive introduction to the story. Next up we have the TV special Yo Son Goku and His Friends Return. This special is canon and it takes place 2 years after the Buu saga. During this special, Goten and Trunks are stated to be rusty, and despite this, Goku still believes that a Frieza level opponent should be a perfect opponent for them. Now there is the elephant in the room that the statement of Abel and Karo being Frieza level comes from Tarbell, and he would only be aware of first form Frieza, but Goku only knows about final form Frieza, and he's the one making the assessment, so I'm pretty sure that's what he would be basing his assessment off of. And since they're rusty, I don't think it's a stretch to say that 2 Android Saga level characters could drop to Namek Saga level if they got rusty. And this just paints a consistent picture of Goten and Trunks being above the Namek Saga at the bare minimum. For most of Super, the boys do nothing, but during the Tournament of Power, we see Goten and Trunks 2v7 the Cell Juniors. Now these are the same Cell Juniors from the Cell Saga as confirmed by the narrator box statement, and this is relevant since the Daizenshu states that the Cell Juniors all have roughly the same strength and speed as Cell. So Goten and Trunks at bare minimum are out here boxing 7 perfect Cell level opponents, and are holding their own. Now while we do see the boys sweating during the encounter, that makes sense since they are wholly outnumbered and also have to protect Marin during this, so I don't think this can be used as a counterpoint for them. The fight does get cut short when the Cell Juniors notice the boys' Ranger badges, but still the fact they were able to hold their own is impressive nonetheless. Now it is possible that these Cell Juniors have also gotten stronger since the Cell Saga, since it's been roughly 13 years since the Cell games at this point, and 17 says he had to tame them, and Krillin hypothesizes that doing things like this had made 17 so strong. So I don't think it's a stretch to assume that the offspring of the ultimate android who live in the same conditions as 17 wouldn't also grow stronger. But that is just speculation at the end of the day. Leaving Goten and Trunks at just around perfect Cell level or even a little bit above that, I think that's perfectly fine at the moment. Since even though they were outnumbered and protecting someone, the only clean hit the Cell Juniors land is the opening one where they caught Trunks off guard. The Cell Juniors, even while jumping them, can't land another clean hit, so I don't think it's wild to put Goten and Trunks individually above at least one Cell Junior and subsequently above Perfect Cell. Okay, now we're approaching Goten and Trunks' most recent feats. Unfortunately, there's not really much we can go off for the prequel to Superhero. They mostly fight a bunch of Hero robots that scale nowhere. I think the most relevant thing here is when they fight the Dinobot at the climax of the arc. Hero calls it stronger than any android before, and this can be used to once again get the boys above Cell. The reason I say this can be used to put them above Cell and not only the other Hero creations is because Hero doesn't specify his own androids, he says any android. And at this point he has memorized Jiro's plans for Cell, so I don't think it's crazy to say Hero would build something stronger than that, especially since his very next androids are like Moro or Goku and Vegeta level. But other than that, there's nothing really noteworthy here. I should also make it clear that the statement wouldn't apply to DBS 17 and 18 since Hero wouldn't know about their current power level. Now we're getting into the good stuff for Goten and Trunks. Here, in the manga version of events, after Cell Max awakens, a confirmed rusty Goten and Trunks take him on and are able to impress the Gammas. They even adapt faster to them and realize what Cell Max is all about, noticing that he slugs before the Gammas do, and the Gammas were designed to be adaptable, so this is also an impressive feat for them. Now, them being able to oppress the Gammas is also more than DBS Piccolo was able to do at the start of the arc, and Piccolo at this point is capable of fighting alongside Gohan in the Moro arc, and even if it is clear Gohan is stronger, Piccolo being able to keep up and coordinate shows that he isn't completely irrelevant in terms of power, and a rusty Goten and Trunks are being put above this Piccolo after months of extra training. The boys are then able to fight relative with the Gammas who Piccolo puts on par with Moro arc Goku and Vegeta. Now counter arguments are the Gammas might be holding back here, but the Gammas are the only ones on the field who fully comprehend the threat of Cell Max, so I see no reason why they would be holding back. The Gammas have never been shown to hold back. In fact, we know that the entire thing is fighting at full power until their battery runs out. So at the very least, I think Goten and Trunks are relative to the Gammas and subsequently the top tiers of the Moro arc like Gohan and Blue Goku and Vegeta. I don't think they're taking on UI Moro or Goku or even Moro himself though. Now while this level may seem like a crazy jump, the superhero epilogue makes this level for Goten and Trunks consistent. In the superhero epilogue, they force a Gohan who's been training since the Cell Max incident to go ultimate, and then the big one, they fight Broly, Mastered Super Saiyan Broly, the same Broly that is confirmed to be relative to Beast Gohan, MUI Goku, Ultra Ego Vegeta and Orange Piccolo, and Goten and Trunks fought him initially and also partook in the Saiyan free-for-all. And from the panels we see they were able to somewhat push Broly while they were in base while he was in Super Saiyan, and in the panel it doesn't look like they're so far below him that he can beat them at any moment. Now of course Goten and Trunks were the weaker Saiyans in this battle, but the fact that the two of them were able to take on a trained Broly and even potentially clash with Vegeta, Gohan and Goku shows they are definitely powerful, and in fact I'd even put them above the Gambas at this point. But this is just my interpretation of the events. If you found anything I said helpful, be sure to leave a like. If you disagree with anything I said, feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts. But with all that said, I hope you will have a great rest of your day or night whenever you're watching this, and I hope to see you all next time.